It's times like this that are going to define who we really are. Oh, look at y'all getting quiet. I said it's times just like this that's going to make, oh God, the world aware of whether or not all that time you spent in church was well worth it. Because we've been in church all this time, and if we haven't grown up, then it's nobody's fault but ours. But after you have been instructed, and after the lecture is over, then there has to come a time when you are tested based on what you've already been taught. And this was a test for us. Y'all gonna get quiet, but I'm gonna keep preaching because it feels good coming out. I said this was a time of testing for us. It tested us like we've never been tested before. Bishop, it got down into our bones to see if there was any place in us that was not sincere before God. Apostle, I was tested, and you know better than some, because I would call you on the phone. It got so bad, Bishop. I remember 2000, amen, 1996, the first day of my sophomore year in college. I lost my father the first day of classes, and that time was a rough season for me. I was mad, and I didn't know who to be mad at. But y'all gonna get quiet here. I was angry and didn't know how to direct my anger. Could I preach to somebody here tonight? I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was out by myself. There were things that I said in anger that I'm ashamed of now. God rebuked me in 1996. Bishop Horton, I got depressed. That's the reason why I don't need nobody to tell me what depression is, because I have been there. I was working on my job. I would come home and go straight to my room. That's when I lived with Apostle and Sister Murray. I wouldn't come to the kitchen to eat until 11 o'clock at night because I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to have a conversation. I didn't know what to say. I would come to church and I would sit in the pulpit. Look at y'all, ain't gonna say nothing here. And folk would write Sister Murray letters saying, is Bishop, is Evangelist Herman okay? She would hand me the note and say, the people are asking about you. You got to snap out of this. But I didn't know how to snap out of that. But God brought me out. Could I preach to somebody here? Well, last November, I started feeling something in my spirit. I would call people and I would say, I don't know what's going on. I would call Apostle. I would call Pastor Bruno, and we would talk, and I would say, I don't know what's going on. When Apostle left us, I felt that thing coming on me again. I started feeling like I needed to withdraw. But I remember one of the last conversations that he had with me while Pastor Bruno was on the phone. He said, listen, come here. I said, yes, Granddaddy. He said, if anything happens to me, you got to take these churches and you got to move forward and you got to take care of Sister Murray. I said, I'm going to do my best. He said, I believe you're going to be okay. Could I preach for a few minutes? I told him then, I'm going to give it my best shot. So when God called him home, that faithful Friday morning, I told the church, we got to have a meeting tonight. I stood in this pulpit, almost broke down, but something in me was saying, you got to be strong for the people. I didn't want to cry. Didn't want to see them break. And I didn't want them to see me break. So I was trying to be strong. But I felt that thing trying to come back up. I felt that depression trying to take hold to me again. And I started praying. And I asked God. I said, God, how am I going to deal with this? God simply looked at me and said, in one sentence, he said, I called you to preach. Preach your way out. Could I preach up in here? I started preaching, and I wouldn't stop preaching. I preached every service. God got the glory. What am I telling you? That in these defining moments, this is no time for you to change now in the middle of your season. But grab that neighbor's hand and tell them, neighbor, whatever God has anointed you to do, when the fight gets the hardest, do that. If he called you to preach, when the enemy shows up, preach until you feel power. If he called you to sing before you lose your mind, sing till God gets the glory. If he called you to play, you got to play until the heaviness lifts off your shoulder. Touch somebody and tell them, neighbor, I got to do what I'm anointed to do. Say, well, I got to get out of here, but I stopped by to tell you that Joshua was in a strange place. He had the man of God that brought him out to go off the scene. But God says to Joshua, he says, Joshua, you can't stay here because victory is on the other side of this Jordan. I need somebody that's going to help me preach through here to grab somebody and tell them, neighbor, victory is on the other side. We can't stay here as comfortable as here is. We've got devils to fight. We got mountains to climb. We got demons to cast out. We got troubles to overcome. We can't stay here. God said, get up and let's go. And that's what I'm telling Full Gospel Holy Temple. We cannot stay here. Get your shoes on. Get your coat together. It's time to move. I need somebody to put your hand together and give God a praise. We're on our way to conquer new territory. Look at the church getting quiet. Could I preach for a minute? We've got things to do. I come to tell you, as much as we want to stay on this side, some of us got to stop dragging our feet and trying to slow down the progress, trying to slow up the process. God has called us to do greater things. I thank God for what we've already done, but that's not the end of our story. God says there is some new strength I'm going to endow you with. Some of us, for the past 7 months, we just ain't felt like it. Could I preach up in here? We've been doing it, but going through the motion. But I come to declare that God is about to pour out some new strength to the people of God. We're about to preach like we ain't never preached before. We're going to start singing like we ain't never sang before. We're going to shout like God's been good to us. We're going to give God all of the glory like no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Touch somebody and tell them, neighbor, this is our defining moment. We've got to move from here. Get up and get ready. There's a whole city out there for us to conquer. He's already told us that we can have it message that our time has come. Is there anybody tonight feel like this is it? This is my defining moment. I gotta get ready because the curtain is about to go up. I gotta prepare myself because when God calls me, I can't be getting ready. I got to be ready to lay hands on the sick. I gotta be ready to cast out devils. I got to be ready to cure the blinded eyes. I gotta be ready to speak encouragement. Look at somebody and tell them, neighbor, our time has come. This is it. Look at y'all getting quiet. I'm about to leave you. Good evening, family. Good evening, family. Good evening, family. I got to get out of here, but I stopped by to tell you, this is it. If you're going to do it, this is the time. If God's going to use you, he's going to use you now. If you're going to preach, you got to preach now. For the hour is far spent and the day is at hand. Touch somebody and tell them, neighbor, do it now. God says to Joshua, get up now and carry this people. You got some folk that's glad to go. You got some folk that hate to go. You got some folk that's just slow about going. But Joshua, carry this people over this Jordan. Can I tell you the difference between Moses and Joshua? When Moses brought the children out, he stood at the Red Sea saying, Lord, how are we going to do this? God said, Moses, what is that in your hand? He said, Lord, it ain't nothing but this old rod that you've been delivering folk with all this time. God said, Moses, stretch forth your rod, and the waters departed hither and thither. But then Moses died, and this comes up now in the Joshua generation. Look at somebody and tell them, neighbor, this is the Joshua generation. What's the difference between Moses and Joshua? Moses established the people. He taught them who God was. He taught them what God liked. He taught them who God was. He taught them about his holiness. He showed them the miracle working power of his God. But now the people have been established. They know what holiness is. They know how to walk right. They know what not to do. They know how to dress holy. So we ain't got time to try to go back and deal with babies at this stage in our conquest. But now that Joshua got word from the Lord, God said, Joshua, get up and go. Whereas Moses waited for the water to get out the way. When God said, Joshua, the land is yours, Joshua just started stepping in the water, and the water got out the way. I come to tell you, this land is our land. Go ahead and take it. Look at somebody, shake 3 hands and tell them, neighbor, take it. Take it. The kingdom of the heavens suffers violence. Take it. Is there anybody ready to possess the land? This is mine. Step in it. He says to Moses, he said, Moses, show my law to this children. But he says to Joshua, just do what Moses told you to do, and I'll give you good success. Tell somebody and tell them, neighbor, tell every mountain to get out of our way. just shift